And with that, we are ready to begin today's program, once again sponsored by Actuate and hosted by American Banker, BTN, American Banker Magazine, and Information Management. It is my pleasure to turn things over to our moderator for today, Julie Langenkamp-Minkel. Julie is the Editor-in-Chief at Information Management. And Julie, with that, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thanks. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's web seminar, Dashboards, Business, Ask Data, sponsored by Actuate. The dashboards for increased visibility into organizational performance is an important topic. Most of the most popular articles on informationmanagement.com discuss the need to present information in a manner that can be easily viewed and understood. But where does information come from, and how does it become a useful dashboard? Presenters today will share how to turn raw data into well-designed performance dashboards for informed decision-making. My name is Julie Langenkamp-Minkel. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Information Management and your moderator for today. Our first presenter today is Shaku Atre. Shaku is an internationally renowned expert who writes lectures on business intelligence, data warehousing, data mining, customer relationship management, and database technology. Shaku will be joined by Mark Gamble, Director of Technical Marketing for Actuate, where he leads a team of engineers who build and maintain reference applications. And started, I just want to mention a few housekeeping items. We'll have a Q&A session. Please use the Q&A panel to type in your question, and we'd encourage you to submit your questions throughout the presentation. Also want to let you know that this presentation will be archived and available on Information Management and American Banker websites following the event. With that, I will turn it over to our experts. Go ahead, Shaku.
Thanks, G. So we have a lot of things to cover. And first of all, good evening or good afternoon or good evening wherever you are, because we have many attendees from many countries. So I'm really happy that you could find time in your busy schedule to join us. Thank you very much. Okay, so now, how is business? Ask your data. We will be talking about performance dashboards, but not just performance dashboards like many other people do, is that they talk only about what kind of graphics there should be, what kind of colors should be used, and that's it. But nobody really holds the bull by the horn, which is the data. Because without data or without raw data, that means the original data, what are you going to show on your performance dashboard? So we have taken now the approach, which is we start with the raw data and we'll show you all the way through developing a performance dashboard, which you will see from our BERT wizard, Mark, who was already introduced to you. So he will give a demo of how to prepare the performance dashboard by using the BERT 360 technology. Okay, now as we said, we have a lot of things to cover. The first thing I like to cover is that I say about performance dashboard what it is not. It is not about cute icons. It's not about unrealistic and unreliable key performance indicators. It is not about dazzle, but it is more about simplicity. Most of all, it is about communication. And when you are communicating today, because of the internet, which has shrunk our world altogether, and also the business world, so the performance dashboard which you probably are developing today may be used tomorrow or even today in China or in Honolulu or wherever you want to talk about on this globe. That means you have to be sensitive to the cultural differences, also using what technology you are using, whatever expressions you are using, you have to be sensitive to that. Like, let's say if we talk about colors, China likes red, some countries like green, some countries, a country which you probably know, some people love orange, some people hate orange. So you have to think internationally also by using the icons that you use. So international, it is what you are going to talk about when you refer to the performance dashboard. One of the disclaimers I have, first of all, is that if you think by developing a performance dashboard, you will get rid of Excel, then you are mistaken. Because if you get rid of Excel, Excel will get rid of you. Because Excel is already there. There are zillion people who know how to use Excel or some kind of a spreadsheet technology, and if it has pluses and it has its minuses. With Excel or with the spreadsheet, you can create something very quickly, but you cannot go from summaries to details, back from details to different summaries. What we do in Performance Dashboard, which is called drill down, then if suppose you don't want to have a summary, you want to have different summary, you could again pull up. And if you want to compare different products, you could cross over. There are different types which you can do with the performance dashboard, which you cannot do with a spreadsheet. So spreadsheet is here to stay, and we have to learn how to coexist with the spreadsheet technology by using our performance dashboards. So this is what it is not. And by the way, if anybody would like to have slides of today's presentation, I have already spoken with Mark. Please send me an email to Shaku, SHAKU, at atre, ATRE.com, and we will be very happy to send you the slides. Okay, now this is it's the new face of BI, the performance dashboard. I have put together these 4 systems of threes, and when we refer to 4 systems of threes, we are looking at 3 types of data, which is the beginning is OTP, operational transaction data, which is made of batch systems, legacy systems, and so on. And by the way, legacy system doesn't mean it has to be from the last century. It could be even from this century. 10-year-old data or 10-year-old applications are now legacy. 5-year-old applications are now legacy, because majority of those did not take into consideration our mobile world. So now everything is going mobile. So anything which has not used mobile technology is a legacy system. I have a definition of legacy system, like a system which runs but nobody knows how. So in that case, the real legacy systems don't touch it, but you still need data from those legacy systems. Then the other layer is on analytical processing, OLAP, where we are talking about cubes. But once again, cube is a misnomer. That doesn't mean you have to have only 3 dimensions. You could have 10 dimensions. You could have 15 dimensions. But that's the terminology used, because the dimensions are represented in the relational table, which will be your columns, and the actual records or database records will be your rows. Then performance dashboard, which is using summaries. So 3 types of data. Then we have 3 types of users: executives in corner offices, middle management, which are going to use analytical dashboard, performance dashboard, and the people in the trenches. And by the way, because we have people in the trenches, that's why we have the real data. So they have 3 types of performance dashboards, which will be strategic performance dashboard, used mostly by the executives in corner offices. Analytical or tactical is used mostly by the middle management, and the operational is used mostly by the people in the trenches. And in order to come up with these performance dashboards, we have 3 types of applications. So this is the new face of BI. Performance dashboard is really a new face of BI. Then we have taken an example. As I said, we go with the raw data. We have taken the example of the video store case study. I am a movie buff, so I have taken the video store movies as our example here. And Mark, our next speaker, Mark Gamble from Actuate, who is the Actuate BERT 360 wizard, he is going to cover a demo. Mark, can you just say just one sentence what you are going to do?
Certainly, Shaku. We are going to actually put into practice all of the concepts that Shaku will be out throughout the course of our program today. So we really wanted to sort of put both the concepts and BERT 360 to the test, and we're delighted with the ease and rapidness of coming together that was all realized. So we'll be happy to show you that a little bit later today.
Okay, thanks, Mark. And our team member, Jeff Morris. By the way, I will tell you one thing. If you missed something, we just had last week full live session in New York City, and Abbott raffled the ad, and the attendees who wanted to qualify, they had to develop a performance dashboard. And Jeff Morris from Actuate, he's a database or data wizard, and he has put together a contest for preparation of the performance dashboard by using BERT 360. And maybe Jeff, if you could just say whether you would like to send them something which they can then develop and mark you to about what they can develop afterwards by themselves about the performance dashboard, if in case they are interested in using BERT 360 to design and develop a performance dashboard. Jeff?
Sure, Aku. Yes, I believe that within our follow-up material we will have further information about how to build content in the BERT 360 dashboard. And I think even as Mark goes along and shows his demonstration, he'll be able to show you exactly what we were using as the reference material for the contest that we ran in New York City. A really successful event. We're very psyched that it had happened, and I think you'll even see the fruits of that today with the rest of this event.
Oh, by the way, I see a number of people are already asking for the slides, but
Indeed.
we know who remains to the end, okay? So just keep in mind. I've seen your request, but we know whether you are going to be there for the entire session. Anyway, okay, so let's move on. These are the 10 steps for preparing the performance dashboard, and I'm going to cover the first 6 steps, and we'll take care of the 7 through 10. Okay, so understanding the environment, decide on key performance indicators, and so on. Start with the raw data. That's our main interest here, starting with the raw data, because nobody does that. I'm writing a book about the performance board also, and I'm taking completely from the beginning, from the honest to God data all the way to the performance dashboard. So these are our 10 steps, so let's get on. So the KPI, key performance indicator, which measure of importance that one can act upon, often represented as a percentage or a ratio of actual figures. What are the key performance indicators of our health? Because business is like a body. Our main key performance indicator, I'm not a physician, but I would think one of the first ones is your blood pressure, then cholesterol level, and so on. So these are our key performance indicators of our health. So what are the key performance indicators of the health of the business? So we measure progress towards a stated organizational goal or objective, such indicators, and so on. Those are the key performance indicators, so we try to come up with those. Now, for the KPI planning, let's say we have this year with the green, yellow, and red. So we list our KPIs here, and we see where we are. Again, this is not a statistically proven method of seeing whether you are successful or not, but it is kind of a quick way of assessing where you are as far as reaching the target where you are. If you have everything in green, that means you are lying. Plain and simple, you are lying, because you could have selected key performance indicators where everything is doing well. Why do you need a performance dashboard then? Okay, if you have everything in red, that means you are suicidal, because it's very tough to move something which everything in red to bring it to green. So that means you have to have a good combination of your KPIs and of your business between green, yellow, and red. So I have here something which we say, what should be our key performance indicators? What is the measure, whether we have selected the key performance indicators or not? So they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be achievable, otherwise it's very discouraging, relevant and result-oriented. If I have a pizza store, a pizza restaurant, I want to know how many pies I am selling. Who cares about how many screws I'm using or what type of oven I have. So they have to be relevant. Time-bound, of course, then we have to compare this quarters with the last quarter, or this quarter of the year with the third quarter of the last year. Let's assume we are in the northern hemisphere and we are comparing the winter season, the fourth quarter. Then we have, because that's where in retail, most of the warm clothing is done, as well as around the holidays. Their retail stores bring in about 30 or 40% of their revenue in that quarter. So comparing this last quarter of this year with the second quarter or the third quarter of last year would be not comparable, or not. It will not take us to anywhere. So it has to be time-bound, predefined, and relevant. Period. Okay. So it means, in short, our KPIs have to be smart system framework. So let's take an example. Let's say objective, for strategic objective, increase revenue by 10% over last year. What KPI? Revenue increase percentage current year versus last year. That's for our strategic performance dashboard. What will be our analytical or tactical dashboard? Increase revenue by 10% last year. That was our strategic goal or target. Now, tactic will be hold 2 additional lead generation events every month this year over years. That's the tactic. What is the KPI for our analytical or tactical dashboard? Number of monthly events this year versus number of monthly events last year. Now, when we move further to the operational, now that's what we have to implement. We say operation, increase number of qualified visitors by 50% at the generation events every month this year over last year. You don't want to have only donut and coffee people. Okay, so you need to have people who really will be buying something for us, qualified visitors. And that the KPI will be number of qualified visitors at these events this year versus number of qualified visitors at these events last year. So these are our KPIs, and these are the 3 the strategy, target, then we came up with tactic, and then we came up with the operation. So that's the hard to think when you're developing your KPIs. And now, if suppose you want to see whether your KPI selected is the correct one or not, I mean, how can you tell somebody, your KPI is no good? It's like telling somebody your kid is ugly. You cannot do that. So that means we need to have something where we can measure, and we have some kind of weighing system about specific, measurable, achievable, result-oriented or relevant, and time-bound. And you come up with the weight, and this way you can do the tie-breaking. Okay, so now let's say our video store case study. Can you answer the following queries for the video stores business? Which are the top 10 rented or purchased movies in last week, last month, last quarter, and last year? So we have 3 queries, and let's see where we go from that. So we come up with identifying KPIs and supporting measures and sticky notes. What were the top 10 rented or purchased movies last week, last month, last quarter, last year? So this is pertaining to revenues. Now we say, okay, let's say what were by store we want to know, by geography we want to know, by time. What are we doing now? We're drilling down. We are drilling down to the more detailed data for by geography, by time. Okay. Now somebody will come back and say, now I really want to have summary for let's say actors, because I want to see that Tom Cruise is doing better or Brad Pitt is doing better. Then we back again from the detailed data back up to the roll up to the from details to summaries. Now you want to compare this country's movies versus maybe India's Bollywood movies. You are going crossover. Okay, so now this is where we say, okay, we have we now going into the designing of the performance dashboard. So think about animation, like you have like Walt Disney movie. How does Walt Disney do that? Why do so many people love it? Because if you see almost any animated movie from Walt Disney, and of course Pixar, all of them have learned from Walt Disney. Let's say, what does he do? Let's say if he has some story which he wants to say, he starts from the very top. You see the complete village first. Then he comes on coming closer, zooming in, and then he comes to the character. So that means what does he do? He starts with summaries and keeps on going to the details. And what does he do with that? He has many, in the older technology, there were many graphics done, and they were quickly processed, and that's how the animation movies were done. So here we are doing the same thing. We say, okay, we want to have animation, so come up with those stores. So we have moved, rented, and purchased, and there's the drop-down window. So we go down further, say, okay, movies rented or purchased, for continue building the performance dashboard for the KPIs with measures. We say, okay, total in dollars per customer in descending order of the amount, customer address, and so on. We may want to come up with some kind of loyalty program or something like that. So this is how we start. Please do not start immediately developing your performance dashboard on the computer. First, think, and think. Okay. So now we say, okay, let's think now. What kind of data do we have? Here we have these relations, persons, movies, movie awards, stores, time, and so on. Okay, how did we come up with that? That's a different session. I cannot go into that. This is the database technology. Okay, so now we say, okay, this is our raw data. We have movie ID, person connected with the persons. Now, with that, so we have various relations. Then we have movies. Then we have, by the way, selected these movies. Okay, I have never heard of Les Vampires and the Intolerance and so on, but he likes them. Okay, so now we have awards. So with the awards are given, again, our case study is limited case study where awards are given only to the movies. Okay, so awards. Now based on that, now what we do now, I'm going to draw something for you so that you see how we move further. Okay, so highlighter here. This is our, oh my goodness, performance. I don't know how to fix this, but anyway, this is performance. This is movie. Okay, let's. This is the people. Sorry, P is for people. We have actors. So we take an example of David Lean as the director. He has directed. Oops, I'm sure you can see this. Okay. So he has directed 3 movies, big-scale movies: Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, and Dr. Zhivago. So now he directed many movies. So this is many. So, but for row here, we have a specific movie. So we have, Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, and Dr. Zhivago. Okay, now let's consider Lawrence of Arabia here in the movies. Lawrence of Arabia, who were the actors? Peter O'Toole, Alec Guinness, so the Greek Anthony Quinn, and very less known Omar Sharif. So that means for each movie there could be many actors. So we have 2-way actors. But for each row for that actor, there is only one row referred to this. Voila! This is our model now, or this is our cell based on which we can increase now, can expand. So now we go further and say, okay, what do we have now? See? So you already know how to do this. Persons, movies, movie persons, awards, movie awards, genre, whether it's a comedy or thriller or whatever, which stores are selling, which customers are buying, and these are the transactions. And here we should have, here we should have the amount sold or rented, dollars spent, then shipping costs, and then the taxes. Okay, so and why this will be the fact. This relation here is the fact. It has these numbers. Numbers don't lie. That's why it's called a fact. And these are all our dimensions. So what do we now? Let's say if we want to come up with the star schema, well, we got that. So actions, which is the relation 8, which is dependent on all these dimensions, which are surrounding this one here. And Mark, honest to God, is going to use this and go into using the software, which will then map everything with. Okay, so now here we say, okay, so we have, now we say construct a metadata repository. So what do we do now? Because we need to know which fields are there, what do they mean. So this is what Mark has already developed. Taking our conceptual model, he put that into some software. I don't know, he will talk about it. So this is what we got with it, okay? So we go further now. Let's say, what are the do's and what are the don'ts, right? Know first your audience and their needs. Your dashboard should be a demand-driven and not a supply-driven one. To make it user-friendly, we overuse that word user-friendly, but we keep on looking for system-friendly users instead of developing user-friendly systems. It doesn't work longer. Okay, so now also have one dashboard or screen per page. And remember, some of the people will, your audience, your customers, are not necessarily going to be high-tech people, because the people who can sign big checks are usually above 50 years of age, and they not necessarily have gone into the high tech the way they pretend that they are, but they are not. I'll give you one example. This was last week with somebody. This guy is a very successful business person. He's maybe in his late 50s. When he said, oh, you talk about performance dashboard, we should have a performance dashboard. I said, yes, okay. What do you need to do? He said, is it for Mac environment? I said, what? For Mac environment. That means he was missing the point, wasn't he? It's for the business. You could use whatever technology you want to use. You could even not have any technology. People had performance dashboards even before the computers. They didn't draw the way we drew it, but they knew what targets to set and what they were good at and what they were not good at. Okay, so performance dashboard, easy to read, develop accurate and consistent performance dashboards and so on. And also think about it has deficient people, because there are about 10% of males and 1% of females worldwide are color deficient. So you have to think internally and keep track of scope creep. Of course, there will be scope creep, and you just have to be aware of it, because if any time users say, oh, whatever you are giving me is fine, that means they don't like it. If they ask for more, that means they like it. So be happy if they're asking for more. The only thing you have to then do is that consider the two factors, which will be the time, what you want more of, because many times users know what they want after they have seen what they have wanted. So, but it's good for them or for you to have it that they want more. So the only two factors you have to consider will be the time and the money. So these are the do's. Then we want to see don'ts. Should not be a catch-all. Don't say you can put everything on the dashboard once, okay? Then you have to have unnecessary glitzy gauges. Like, what is this eye doing here? What is this end tall? What are these things doing? Go against conventions, like green is go, yellow is caution, red is stop. And think your first dashboard is not going to be your first dashboard is going to be your masterpiece, and do not assume anything. Okay, so with that then, I just want to say anybody, because I'm going to give a seminar in Rome, April 19 and 20. So before I give over the console to Mark, I have a couple of comments which I would like to share with you, which you go with. Now, find out what your mission of corporation, mission and vision statement is. Do you know that you are successful? If you are successful, do you know why you are successful? Because the a German historian, Ruth Ley, said that you are more successful if you know why you are successful, not the end run rate. Rupert Lay. But because of Enron Lay, we have to have now performance declaration every quarter. Every company which uses other people's money, that means any publicly traded company, has to come up with a declaration of their performance every quarter. Okay. Now, what your mission statement is, or vision, whatever you want to call, do you know how to translate that into everyday business? We will be better if that's what our mission statement is. Okay, all right. Who doesn't want to be better? How to translate that into your daily work? Do you know that? Find out. One of the first things you do, go out and find out where your company has a mission or a vision statement, and can you translate that into what you do every day? Whether what your performance is, whether it is improving, do you have a target? Do you have an objective? Okay, so, and this means also that IT people have to learn to play a little bit of politics. Okay, so you have to evangelize with the performance dashboard. So with this, then, what I would say, with the politics, you have to learn to put. So you have to know when to hold them, when to walk away. Quoting Kenny Rogers. With I'm closing my statement here, and if you need to have slides, please send me an email, Shaku, SHAKU, @atre.com. Okay, and with that, I'm going to give over to Mark, and if you have any questions, I will take care of them.
Thank you so much, Shaku. I have the Gambler song running through my head, but it's really a great song, so I thank you for that as well. So I thought what we might do actually is a slight deviation from the overall use case that we've been walking through, just for a moment, to introduce the features of BERT 360, just a few brief snippets, if you will, so that you can see what our target actually is and the environment that we'd actually like to use to create this dashboard. Just have a couple, for the sake of time, different styles of dashboards. So I'm going to go to one now, and I'm within obviously the BERT 360 dashboarding environment. Again, all based on open source BERT and the commercial value add feature of dashboarding over the top via Actuate. We're looking at a fairly typical dashboard. I'm in the character of a line wealth management consumer, let's say, and this is an overview of my wealth management accounts. This is arguably operational in nature, so it's kind of at a glance, morning cup of coffee style of dashboard. Allows our customer to have an at a glance understanding of key account metrics that are important to the individual. All of these dashboards in the BERT 360 environment allow the user to drill to details underlying the displayed metrics. So, for example, here I can see that my managed ETF account is flatlining, in fact underperforming. If I wish to get a quick look at what's going on with the positions that roll up to this detail, I can go straight to a detailed report. Additionally, all of the detailed content that is delivered as BERT reports are inherently interactive. So the user can, in fact, change and morph them on the fly. So in this case, let's say I've got this fairly boring-looking detailed list of my positions, but I'd rather see this graphically represented. So I can change my experience on the fly and make sure the experience meets my needs. So users actually create their own dashboards by selecting metrics or gadgets from a gallery. Let's take a look at that. I'll supplement my dashboard with another metric here. So I'm browsing through the gallery. These are pre-prepared metrics that have been placed here for the use of myself and other customers. We just simply browse through each one of these gadgets and select the one that we want to see. Here I see one investment account comparisons. Server is what's actually housing all of this BERT content. It understands who I am, and security model makes sure that I only select the information that I'm entitled to see. So now I've been able to pull this extra gadget out and arrange it on the page wherever I wish. So BERT 360 leverages the Google Gadget Standard. That's what all of these little windows of metrics are based on. And this brings unique advantages. Suppose your organization's built some custom gadgets. Well, those would actually be very easily added to the gallery. In this particular case, suppose I'm considering expanding as my corporate online consumer into some foreign markets. I might want a currency converter as part of my experience. Well, this is a live currency converter that's freely available on the internet and based also on that Google Gadget standard. And it's right alongside all of my secure BERT content. Tremendous amount of flexibility thanks to BERT 360. Let's take another style of dashboard here. Through the now of a finance analyst, let's say, this is more of an analytic style of dashboard. And similar to the operational in that it employs gadgets to display metrics, but these types of dashboards are really more intended to promote discovery and exploration of the data. And they all sit atop a BERT data asset that we call the BERT data object. So every of these metrics, in this particular case, is covering different metrics across maintenance costs for our analysts. We can see our categories are tracking as far as estimated hours and costs by region, our top assets that are costing us the most money, and then how our managers in the various facilities are actually estimating these jobs. Notice that we also have included selectors. So selectors are just another way of displaying the various metrics, but in this case, they're displayed as filters that I can apply to the entire dashboard on the fly. So I'm really not in charge of the entire organization. I'm really just in charge of the North Central and Northeast. So I can select these on the selectors, and every metric on the page, in fact, adjusts on the fly to just be for my area of responsibility. So I see, for example, now that the North Central here in my chart is leading the pack as far as these costs. Another advantage of all of these metrics being based on a BERT object is that they're inherently, they understand the roll-ups of the data. So in this case, I know that North Central is actually a summary of all of the various facilities. And if I want to see that breakdown, simply click and go to now Breakdown of Facilities. And then in similar fashion, I can see that my Milwaukee facility is leading the pack as far as costs. If I wish to get to root cause, I could actually go straight to a fully detailed BERT report design underneath. In this particular case, the BERT object-based analytic dashboard really meets the needs of our finance analyst very nicely. So back into slides and get back to our use case. And we're going to come back and build a dashboard analytic in nature, very similar to this, leveraging a BERT data object. Okay, so back into our slides. And I'm going to pick up where Shaku left off. We're going to start with step 7. And for the sake of time, I'll show you just the concepts that we use to achieve these various tasks. So 7 is actually a couple of tasks. We needed to sort of lay out and logically visualize the schema that Shaku sort of detailed throughout the presentation. And in fact, that's exactly what we did for the actual project. So the tool that we used to actually visualize that schema and create the database that was empty at first was based on MySQL. So anybody that's familiar with MySQL, it's an open source database search technology, and they offer to a workbench. And this is freely available administrative tool. And I'm not a DBA, and I was able to very effectively create our database schema leveraging this tool. It's very user-friendly and, again, entirely free. So we want to be clear, this is not required for a BERT application, but in this case we used it for this particular use case, and it met our needs very nicely. Is because it has this nice layout where we can visually start creating our tables. And not only that, we also can create the relationships based on the individual fields. So what Shaku was outlining in a loose sketch actually culminated in our ER diagram. This is an entity relationship diagram, and it's a screenshot here of what we actually used in MySQL Workbench. The very nice thing is that we can autonomously create this model, and then once it's fine-tuned, has all of the relationships, then we can choose to actually turn this prediction into an actual database. So the MySQL Workbench offers a facility to actually take this model and it just converts it into a live empty database with all the relationships. So that we had our database, now we needed to actually put into the database. So for all of the data, we actually turned to the internet, where there's an internet movie database. Everybody probably knows of IMDb. Well, Jeff was instrumental in helping on this project by gathering information on directors, actors, awards, genres for over 4,000 titles out there on IMDb, starting with silent movies in 1915 all the way through the modern era. So we were basically extracted these off of the internet as spreadsheets. And to get into the database, I used a tool called KNIME. So KNIME is a predictive analytics and advanced calculation mechanism. Also has a fundamental capability of moving data in a classic ETL, or extract, transform, and load. So KNIME allowed me to take those spreadsheets and, in fact, put them directly into the various tables in our SQL database. And KNIME comes with a host of different what they call nodes that facilitate different functions. So in certain cases, we need to make sure that data in our spreadsheets that was text in nature was actually pushed into the database as a date data type. So it's a specific node for that. That's just one example. Different types of transformations that KNIME brings to the table. It's a very efficient mechanism to take that spreadsheet of separated values and put it into that fully realized relational schema that was created leveraging MySQL Workbench. So that was laying the foundation for everything that we wanted to base our dashboards on. So this endeavor was through the eyes of a stakeholder role that might be described as IT. IT person or database administrator would prepare the data environment by leveraging these types of tools. There might be an IT type of character that builds content, or maybe this is a line of business IT. We want to take that foundation of data and actually turn it into a data model, an intelligent model with complete roll-ups that can drive these dashboards. So Ku was explaining as we went through, definitely the data model itself has lots and lots of roll-ups. There's, geographic roll-ups, time roll-ups, etc. So we needed an easy way to sort of make this model intelligent so we can leverage that in the dashboard. And BERT Designer Professional was the tool here. This is the, again, open source-based development environment that you use to create basically everything in your BERT-based applications. So we'll take you through an actual live look at what it looks like to create these dashboards. I'm over the point here. I'm going to go right back into a sharing. And looking at design environment. Okay, so all now is as a perhaps a line of business IT person, and this is the environment again that you use to create BERT ports that are interactive. You create dashboards, you create the metadata layer, and you also create that intelligent data model that I was referring to earlier, the BERT data object. So do this kind of cooking style, if you will. I've got a data model, this BERT data object, that's almost complete. And I'll put the final touches. But essentially, without going too deep into the design environment, we see depicted here a single connection. This is a movie database. That's the database in question. I wish I have created multiple data sets, and this is just BERT vernacular for a query. So in the case, I have standard garden variety SQL. Issue the query, and it brings back a result set. Rather flat at this point. This is where we wanted to now provide some intelligent dimensionality around it. Notice now I also have a host of cubes in my BERT data object. That's what we're in the process of creating. So I took that flat model and then created the intelligent roll-ups manually. Very easy drag and drop affair. What I've done is opened up the mechanism we use to define those roll-ups. And here we can see I've got access to all of the fields in every one of those queries. In order to actually create a roll-up, all I had to do was drag an individual field over under dimensions and then dragging roll-up fields under it. So for example, here notice we've got stores. Well, store is actually a roll-up that if I expand way to the bottom, we've got a store manager, rolls up to a store location, rolls up to the zip, city, state, and country. So now when we build or consume this birth data object, we'll be able to traverse our summaries across all of these different dimensions. So let's actually create one on the fly. I'll pull out transaction date. Let's create the time roll-up, and I'll just drop it right here. So these natural hierarchies are in fact detected, and it's just a click and go type of affair. In this case, for the time dimension, so it allows me to select how I want this broken down. And I'll just take year, quarter, month, and day of month. And see, we have that roll up. Another advantage of the BERT design environment is that you can create shared dimensions that if we have multiple cubes, as we do in this example, we don't have to recreate and reaggregate along common dimensions. So here we've got customers. That's going to be in every one of these cubes. I can just pull it over, pop it, and now I have that pre-created roll up. The last I'll add is the actual measure. So notice I've actually got a count of individual transactions. I want to sum up the amounts so that I can see at any level hierarchy are the actual transaction amounts summed. So you can just drop that in there, and automatically will sum, and we can adjust that to any other operator that we wish. So at this point, that's really rinse and repeat to create the various cubes with the roll-ups that we want. Of course, BERT, being smarter than I am, also reminds me if I've ever forgotten a step. So in this case, I now want to make sure that I also relate all of this information. So I've added some new elements to this particular cube. So the last thing that I'll do is make sure that the relationships are established. So here I have my transactions. We just follow the same schema that's laid out in the diagram. So I can say here that our customer ID should link up with our customer ID in this table, and there we go. So we OK. This here scheme, this model itself with multiple cubes and queries is all encapsulated in a single file called data design. This is the heart of the BERT data object. What we have to do then is publish this directly to our BERT iServer, and we begin consuming it immediately. So we've just gone in a nutshell the data preparation through the eyes of our IT person, creating the foundation for those dashboards. So to start to use this, let's go back to slides just for a couple of concepts here that we'll go through. Actually start to imagine what type of dashboard we want to use. As Shaku said, certainly trial and observation, trial and error is one way to do it, but I want to make sure that you put some thought into it. So I want to leave some time at the end. So I'm going to go pretty quickly here, but I want to make sure to put some thought into the various charts that are at your disposal. Bar charts are best for comparison. Stay away from pie charts unless you're depicting percentages of a whole. You also want to consider your selectors. Remember that we had the ability to filter on the fly the entire dashboard. You want to make sure that you consider which elements will be selectors and which will actually be charts. And it's best to put a little sketch together of what you ultimately want to achieve. Then we start actually building that content. So that's in fact what I'll do now. I'll go to the final share. And back into now the eyes of say a business user. I want to create a dashboard for my executives. It'll be about our the metrics that Shaku laid out earlier. So to start with, I'll create a brand tab. Now to create our very first metric, and Shaku outlined some metrics that we're trying to achieve. Loyalty, store performance, and what are our big revenue generating titles. So let's first dig into customer loyalty. Into a brand new gadget. Notice I'm not in a design environment. I'm in BERT 360 itself to create this dashboard. So I'll pull a bar chart, and we'll use that data object that I published earlier to very quickly lay out this bar chart. And this will be transactions, customer transactions by geography. This is the movie sales cube. There's our movie star analysis published moments ago. We'll say we want this to be, we'll start at the customer state in our axis and make this a count of transactions. Quite that simple. Obviously, spend a little more time printing up the titles, etc. But just to put a face to the name, we just created and uploaded that intelligent data model against the database, and they have a visual depiction that not only shows us transactions by state, but will allow us, in this case, if I wish to see a breakdown of the transactions in a given state, simply click on the state. Now we see any given city. We want to see a breakdown by the zip codes that roll up to that city, and now a depiction of all of the customer transactions for that individual zip code and the stores therein. So let's another dashboard element very quickly here. Upload our dashboard. The second thing we'll do is look at store performance. So I'm going to use the exact same data object and the exact same cube. And we want to see store sales, but I'll make this another roll up. So we'll start the store country. And we'll see revenues. And let's, for fun, group these by rental or purchase, just for a little bit of variety's sake. And here we have, again, where we get a breakdown of rental purchase by the stores, but in similar fashion to our previous metric, I can simply click, drill to the USA, drill into New York City, and then ultimately down to the breakdown of even the stores and how the individual stores are performing. So what that I neglected to add, and we'll do so very quickly here, is it might be a little helpful if we have a legend. So we can actually tell. So all of these visualizations are also re-entrant. We can go in and modify them anytime we wish. Let's add one more element, and then we'll start with our selectors and wrap up today's content. So do the top revenue generating titles. I'll pull out another bar. Or let's make this a column chart for fun. You'll recognize a familiar theme. I'm going to use the same cube. So all of them are interrelated. Select our title. We want our title to be the x-axis, revenue to be our y-axis. That's our actual measure. But it's important here that you can't actually set a measure filter or top 10 actually chosen our dimensions and rendered the chart. The chart with over 40,000 titles is a bit of all order. So what I'm going to do is play a little workaround here, where I'm instead going to simply search for an individual title and set filter appropriately, and then I'll come back and adjust it. So I'm going to see just one title, but now I can actually set that top 10. So if I've rendered it, I can actually say, let's now see only the top 10 titles. So one selected, that's what we're going to see, but now I can go back in and remove that title filter. So I'll go in, edit, and let's get this filter. See our top 10 titles. And let's do a little bit of housekeeping here and turn my XX values at a 45-degree angle so we can actually read them a little bit better. Looks like our top title is The Artist, appropriately, since it's just won pretty big at the Oscars, and we can see other familiar titles: Moulin Rouge, Monsters Ball, Quiz Show, Pulp Fiction, etc. So now I'll add one selector, and then we'll turn it back over for Q&A, and we can wrap up today's program. So if we want to actually see all of these divided on different selectors, we can very quickly add those. So I'll just add age group, and then for the sake of time, we can actually just imagine adding additional ones. So selector is very similar to adding those charts. We just go into the appropriate folder. So I'll pull out a checkbox. And we use, again, the exact same cube. And I'll make this customer age group. And really all we have to do. So now checkboxes use to, in fact, isolate these various metrics. So we can see our top titles, for example. Let me just tighten this up a little bit. Overall, let's see what our titles might be. for the 15 through 20 set. Notice how the entire dashboard changes on the fly. If we add our 31 through 40 set, then every metric on the page will automatically adjust in accordance with these selections. So additional selectors in the form of lists or calendars or sliders. Once all of that's done, it's very simple then to make this available for our executives. So in this case, I'll just go straight to the end here where I'll save this as a new SHAKU dashboard. And done, then we put it into the gallery simply by sharing it. And then we ring the dinner bell, and our users can come in, and they go to the gallery, and here we can see that dashboard that I created only moments ago is available for the rest of the application community. So I'm a little bit over. I appreciate everybody staying with me. But let's now turn it over to Julie for some Q&A and wrap up.
Thank you so much, Mark and SHAKU. We have just a couple minutes left for question and answer. I'd like to encourage everyone to please submit your questions if you do have them. If we don't get to discuss them right now, we will do our best to address them post-event. So my first question is for Mark. Does your user community include external users like customers?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, great question. If you recall the very first scenario we went through, it was in the form of an online consumer. This is one of the areas where Actuate's BERT iServer really shines because it's the only deployment mechanism, frankly, for BI out there that has the horsepower to keep up with customer bases in the millions and millions of users. And that's why in our customer base you'll see names like Citibank and Bank of America, Wells Fargo, etc.
We've got time for a couple more.
Yeah, Greg, should I be speaking now? Because I have a few questions which I see here.
Julie, are you still on the phone? We may have lost Julie. So
let's go over.
Yeah,
okay?
SHAKU, that's great. Thank you.
That's fine. Okay. People are sending emails and asking me for my email address for getting the slides. That's wonderful. Recursive, isn't it? Okay, so the email address is shown on the screen now. Send email to shaku@atre.com. Okay, so you see that slide which is now shown on the screen.
1 second, SHAKU. We'll go ahead and push that back. That's your final slide on the deck?
Yes. Slide number 33.
Thank you. 1 second here. I'll get that for everybody.
Okay. And I see some of the questions here. Slide 33, not 34. 33. Great. Okay. Send email to SHAKU, SHAKU@atre.com. If you see at the southeast corner of the slide, that's where email address is. So send that. Now, first of all, I want to thank Actuate for inviting me to speak this session. And I just wanted to make one comment. If you saw Mark's dashboard where he was asking in which state you had the most customers, this was a very good example because if you want to find out some deviations from the norm, you should be able to see that with the dashboard. What I saw that most of his customers were from California. And I said, why? Because then I looked at the data because most of his stores which he had populated were from California. Okay? So customers went to the California stores because those were the most of the stores. And this is a very good way of seeing any major deviations from what you expect. Okay? So that was one point. And then somebody asked a question about whether I could explain the conceptual data model, how that is developed. That is in one of my books. I don't know why, but I have written 6 books, and this one has sold over 250,000 copies, which is translated in Russian and many other languages. So in that book I have covered, but if you really want to know more about it now, send me an email and I will make sure I will send you some information about that, how to develop the conceptual data model. Okay, so you can do that. Then again, if you really are very, very, very much interested, then join me in Rome on April 19 and 20. And if you have any other questions besides asking for the slides, send me an email, give questions, and I definitely will get back to you. Okay? It's shaku@agre.com. And again, I want to thank Actuate, and in particular, Nabi Akiha, the Senior VP of Marketing of Actuate, because it has been delightful working with them. And I want to thank you all in the audience. Although I cannot see you, I almost feel like I can see you, okay, because I'm speaking with you, okay? So thank you very much for staying all the way, and you will be receiving the slides if you have sent me an email. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
And by the way, Greg, thank you very much also, and Julie and Mark and Jeff. Thanks. Bye.
And thank you, Shaku. I would like to thank everybody for joining us today and thank Actuate for sponsoring today's web seminar. Thanks, and join us again. Have a great day.